This is Mike Fry, and you are listening to the We Effing Told You So podcast. Today is June 15, 2025, and today's edition is Kristi Noem proves both the evil of the current regime and the complicity of the media. The press isn't talking about the biggest part of the Senator Padilla story. News organizations across the USA have been screaming for days about how members of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's security detail assaulted, threw to the ground, and handcuffed Senator Alex Padilla for having the gall to show up at a press conference to, try to ask her a question. It's a story that certainly needs covering. It demonstrates the lengths to which Hitler 2.0's regime will go to silence anyone who so much as hopes to ask questions of their authoritarian mercenaries. But in covering the story, virtually every media outlet completely missed the real story. After the news broke, the infamous puppy-killing Noem helped keep the story going for some days by overtly lying about the incident. She insisted her team didn't know who Padilla was and that he didn't identify himself, even though the event was captured on video clearly showing Padilla verbally identifying himself and also wearing identification. Again, in covering the story about how our modern-day Reinhard Heydrich, the head of Hitler's security, overtly lied about Padilla not identifying himself, all of the media still missed the real story that should have been front page, all caps type, above the fold coverage everywhere. The most important part of the story wasn't what happened. As bad as it is to physically assault a sitting U.S. senator for simply trying to ask a question at a press conference, the real story is what Rambo Barbie had said in her written, prepared remarks just before that. Have a listen.
We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to.
So let me repeat that. Quote, "We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country here," end quote, the puppy killer insisted, referring to Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom and the Democratic Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. Lest there be any confusion about what she said, without even a hint of self-awareness, much less any sense of right or wrong, she was saying that the entire pretext for her anti-Christ of a boss to invade Los Angeles by sending in the U.S. National Guard and military in violation of the U.S. Constitution was all a lie. She was also saying that officials elected in free and fair elections by the citizens of California are going to be replaced by military force in a Banana Republic-style coup. So, in other words, after the attempted coup of January 6th failed, they're going at it again while the media sits quietly by, covering the most visually sensational part of the story and ignoring all of the meaningful substance and context underneath it. As we've said before, if you're getting your news from most mainstream media, you are being indoctrinated. And this failure of them to cover this critically important story correctly proves it. And it's not just Fox, OAN, Newsmax, and other totally Looney Tunes networks on the right, though it's always worth remembering that, in court, Fox News argued that they are not actual news, they are entertainment, and that anybody who believes that the things that their hosts would say have to be total morons. Anyone who gets their news, we have to say, from a source that says you have to be a moron to believe them is most certainly an actual moron. We're therefore not directing this podcast at the likes of Fox, OAN, Newsmax, or the morons, according to them, who watch them. This is about the so-called real press that hire credentialed journalists that people rely on and believe, and that continually can't get the meat of the most important stories like this one right. And this missed story is hardly a one-off. How about the news story that's going forward in some of the press about the lawsuit that's going forward relating to the 2024 election based on data that proves that it was tampered with? You won't be hearing that on most of the news organizations either, but it's true and it's happening. Or what about the story we previously reported on where award-winning investigative journalist Greg Palast provided the receipts that prove Republicans stole 3.5 million votes from Democrats, meaning that Harris actually won both the popular and the electoral votes based on data that's readily available and verifiable in public. You won't be hearing those stories from the mainstream press either. In spite of the seriousness of the accusations and the verification and validation of the data presented in these stories, this has been the response from the mainstream press. At the same time, the third Antichrist of Nostradamus has been running around saying that if anyone protests him, they will be met with heavy force. And again, instead of being in all caps headlines in huge type above the fold, the press barely mentions it. And when they do, they don't bother to mention that him even saying those words is a violation of the U.S. Constitution. The objective fact of the matter is that these MAGA goons are proving daily that they are anti-democracy, anti-America, are only serving their own personal self-interests, and need to be taken out of office as quickly and peacefully as possible if there's going to be any hope of saving our country. That literally means voting out every Republican and any Democrat that has shown themselves feckless at taking on the Republicans, and that's a lot of them too. And about the media that refuse to tell us the truth about the world we're living in today, we have to turn them off or change the channel. If we don't succeed in doing that, we will only see more of this same shit, and we will lose our country, sadly us having to say, "We effing told you so." You have been listening to the We Effing Told You So podcast. Please like and subscribe and share on your social media. You can also find us on Blue Sky, Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and many other podcast apps.